Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. Today, Kelly and I are in the woods, but this brings up a topic we wanted to address. Is a spring, a natural spring, a viable water source option for your farm or homestead? So come along, let's talk about this real quick. All right, so the reason why we're talking about this is right now we're standing just above our retreat, halfway back on the property on the south ridge, and we're about halfway up the mountain, and I'm standing in what appears to be a good spring source. It's something that we've been keeping an eye on for a while. Dog has too, I guess. And looking at could this be a viable option to provide water for our retreat instead of trying to rely 100% on rain catchment? So it's a pretty rainy day, pretty lousy day to work outside. So we thought, well, if we come up here in the rain, let's just scratch the surface here and see what we can access and see if there's any water. But it really brought up this subject of what is enough? What will be determined to say this is worth trying to build a spring box and utilize for the retreat, for consumption, whether it's potable water or whether it's just usable water for showers and that type of stuff. What is enough?
Oh my goodness, did you see that just...
Yeah, bring the whole mountain down on us.
Oh, gosh.
Well, obviously the key point in determining if a spring's going to work is its flow rate, or GPM, gallons per minute. And as you saw there in the footage as we were digging out, we actually... Could you please keep the sticks out of the camera? We actually hit a little bit of vein of that water and it started rolling out pretty good. Now we're in no position to start measuring GPM just yet because we got to get a lot of this debris out and get a pipe driven back in there and do that type of stuff. Not what we're going to do today, obviously. We just wanted to see if this actually had some water source. But when you're looking at GPM, what you need, when you look at things for like a well, the minimum GPM they recommend is 6 gallons per minute, so 6 GPM, which you think over the course of an hour, that's 360 gallons that well or water source will produce. So if you apply the same thing to a spring, then yeah, we need 6 gallons a minute minimum to be able to accommodate basic household needs. Your face is in the shot there, Fuzzy. So he wants to get in this hole of water so bad it's killing him. So can a spring actually produce that? Can it get 6 gallons per minute? Can it get more? Well, obviously that's all depends on where you are, but I want to share another reason obviously why we're talking about this is yesterday Kelly and I were up in the eastern part of the state of West Virginia doing some land research for one of you viewers, and one of the properties we looked at had this incredible spring. So let me show you some footage from that from yesterday. I'm not going to show the whole property feature because that'll be much later, may not even be at all, depending on how the land buy situation goes. But I do want to share this detail of this this spring and just how well it's producing. It's incredible. could obviously supply water for multiple residences. A lot of black pipe on the ground. I believe that this is definitely the spring house. Look at that. Oh, that's why I love West Virginia. Look at that water. Amount of water coming out of those 3 pipes. That is a good flow. That spring box is pretty deep too. Very cool. Very, very cool. So this is an extremely high mountain. Quite a bit of elevation to the top of this peak. This is one of the major peaks in this region. It's very substantial. Spring house overflow. Disappearing underground again. Very cool. Oh, that's good stuff. That's good water there. Yeah, definitely good water. All right, so you can tell that's definitely some serious production there. I estimate what was coming out of that overflow pipe that I drank from, and then what was cascading down around the box. I honestly think that was a 60 GPM. Some of you guys may say no way, but it was pretty darn close. There's a lot of water coming out of there. I think you could have filled up a milk jug in a second very easily. The dog just wanders around. So obviously we're not getting that kind of flow here. So is this abandoned? We don't mess with this? Well, obviously, if you were trying to just have the spring feed your needs directly, then yeah, that would be a problem. But as many as you know, what happens here is people build spring boxes to A, help isolate the water, but B, to actually be a little bit of storage. Or once you've built a spring box to isolate the water, then you let that water drain into a cistern or a tank or whatever. You know, that's basically what a well is. So the key to this would be storage. And what's neat is the fact that we are in elevation about 60 or 70 feet above the retreat. The retreat is right behind Kelly, the camera woman there. And this watershed that I'm standing in goes right down to the middle of the retreat. So we could take advantage of putting the tank somewhere up here, holding water, and then utilizing pressure down below to have really nice usable water, if this turns out to be clean. So just in case you're unaware, how do you determine GPM? Well, it's kind of simple, of course. Once you get the water isolated, where there's not a lot seeping through the ground or going elsewhere, so once we get a spring box or we get some way to get a clean access to water, then you just simply test the flow rate. So you can just take a 5-gallon bucket or a gallon milk jug or whatever, have that water run into that stopwatch, and just see how long it takes to fill that up, and then do the math. So we're a ways from being able to measure our GPM here just yet, but it is something we're going to continue to explore. Another thing you need to take into consideration is your needs. So let's say you find a spring or you've got a well or something that's producing 6, 10, 12, 15 GPM. If you decide, well, I'm going to use that for everything on the farm or the homestead. I'm going to use it for potable water. I'm going to use it for bathing. I'm going to use it for clothes washing. I'm going to use it for feeding the livestock or watering the livestock. Then, of course, that adds up quite a bit. That's a lot of consumption. So you need more flow, or you just need larger storage. It's funny, when anytime hanging out with people talking about storage tanks for water, it's like, how big a tank should I have? And it's like, yes, yeah, as big as you can do. The biggest tank you can afford and you can keep from busting if you live in an area where it freezes, then go big or go home, basically. Yeah, I see that.
If you could dig at it from up here.
There's a vein of clean water coming out right there.
Yeah.
So obviously, we're going to explore this more on the channel. I'm not going to do much today because it's just so rainy and nasty, and it's actually almost close to dark. But as we continue to work on the retreat, we're going to document this. In the dog's tail. The dog has no consideration for camera work. So we'll document this because I think this is going to be a neat feature to add to the retreat. Even if it's not the only source of water, we're still doing rain catchment. Maybe we have a hybrid. I think this is going to be neat. This will be something that'll have not only some useful value, but I believe it'll have some entertainment, maybe even some educational value to our guests to be able to see how a spring, old school, was captured and utilized for a farm, for a house, whatever the case may be. Now, if we were up in the higher elevation and we had a lot more mountain behind us, we'd probably be producing a lot more water. But the fact that we don't have the relief that we have in the eastern part of the state, then we're probably not going to produce as much. But I'm really excited with what we found here. I'm going to get this cleaned out more. Wish I'd have brought the excavator up here when I had it last month, now that I think about it. But we'll get in here and clean this out more, and we'll make sure we document it. Well, be sure to stick with us as we work on the retreat. We work on some other building projects here on the farm, on the homestead, trying to be more self-sustainable, trying to live off the land more, and obviously taking you guys along with us and sharing things that we've learned and the things that we've experienced. All right, well, take care, everybody.